A little different than all the rest. A quite old-fashioned where I had sometimes played chess. And when I'm out, I'm looking for that vintage fling.
Bonjour, bienvenue. Thank you for being here, and thank you for joining me on my channel. This is Janice in France. If this is your first time, thank you so much for being here. And if you have been at one of my channels before, I certainly appreciate it. If you don't mind, I would love for you to subscribe. And if you'd be generous enough, thumbs up if you like the video. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I wanted to let you know that this is a coffee chat. This is unabridged. This means it won't be edited by Mary Grace. That means if you hear the dog walking, or if I have to cough or whatever, that's just the way it is. Because I'm pretending that you're in my living room. And if you were in my living room and I had to cough, I wouldn't say, oh, excuse me, I have to cough, I have to leave the room. I'm going to talk tonight about 2 or 3 different items that have been really on my mind. I have gained so much weight lately, for me. And when I gain weight, it really puts me in a foul mood. Now, I do not put my worth on how much I weigh, but I guarantee you, I feel better about myself. I feel like I've accomplished something if I weigh what I'm supposed to weigh. Because if I don't weigh that, I know I've overindulged, I know I've spent too much money, and I know I'm back on that track of self-gratification. And I think that's one of the differences between me and the way the French women eat here in France. Now, I've never eaten one of those big sandwiches that you see at the boulangerie that's got tomatoes and, lettuce and cheese and pepperoni and ham and whatever. It looks fabulous. I've never eaten one of them, but I guarantee you I probably could. But I've never seen any French women. And when I've been in the boulangerie, I have seen French women order maybe a little quiche or maybe a little bit of a sweet tart or something like that. But you have to remember, most of French and the European countries eat their main meal between 12 and noon. And then in the evening, around 6 to 8, they eat their other meal. But it's not a heavy meal. They don't go to bed at 9 o'clock after just drinking, 2 glasses of wine and mashed potatoes and meat and things like that. And then another thing that helps women in France and me keep their weight down when I'm not overindulging is on all the products like cereals and even the pizzas and the vegetables. They rate them A, B, C, or D. So if you're getting an A, it's pretty darn healthy. And if you're getting a D, you're probably getting too much sugar, too much salt, or something in there. You can just turn it over and look at the calories that they're offering, and the sucre, which is the sugar, and the salt, which is sel, S-E-L. So you can check all that out to make sure that you're eating healthy. Now, sometimes when I look at some of the items that have an A, I look at it and go, no wonder it has an A. I don't think it probably tastes like cardboard. I think that's just me and the way I think. And also, I do think because I'm an American and I've always been used to fast food places near me. Like, for instance, I used to live on a 350-acre farm, but I was only 10 minutes from a McDonald's. And at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, if I wanted to just go down the street to McDonald's and get me a self-serve little vanilla ice cream, I would do it. You don't have that here. Of course you have little places like that, but most of the time you're going to find that in Paris. But even then, they're not going to be that many. McDonald's is a big franchise here, absolutely big. But even there, they have huge salads, they have very healthy food. It isn't like in the United States. And the other day, I saw KFC, but the KFC didn't serve the chicken like what we have. It was very healthy chicken. Now, I'm not going to say everything in France is good for you, but I'm just saying I do think because of the fresh vegetables and so many various markets that are offered during the week that the women that buy for their families can have the fresh vegetables and the fresh fruits, and they're not overindulging because, number one, they don't have a lot of money. They watch their money. The same thing like buying clothes. They don't go to the store and buy 4 or 5 items just because they want to buy 4 or 5 items. Most of the time, French women have an idea of what they want. They save for it. They go purchase it. They bring it home. Because they don't have the debt like we do in the United States. They don't have credit cards. They may have a debit card, but they don't have credit cards, and they don't have credit card debt, and they also don't have the bills with credit and the credit scores like we do in the United States. So I really do think that has a lot to do with people staying slim and being slim. And then, of course, all the walking they do. But now listen, I can walk 5 miles a day, but if I have a pizza when I get home, I've just eliminated all that walking I've done. So I don't think it's all walking. I don't think it's all fresh vegetables. I don't think it's all fresh fruit, but I do think it's a combination of fresh fruit and vegetables, walking, getting out and exercising, because not everyone owns a car. A lot of people here in Fontainebleau, they walk to work. They walk home for lunch. They walk back to work. And then when they're finished for the day, they walk home. Most of the people that live and work here in Fontainebleau walk to work. And then if you don't walk to work, you'll take the train. And even then, you have to walk from the train station to wherever your job is. So there's a lot of physical activity that we don't get in the United States. And I think also, once again, I'm going to go back over, I think it is the nearness of all these. I mean, I live down the street from the Olive Garden, down the street from a Taco Bell, down the street from a Culver's, down the street from a Chick-fil-A. I mean, I could have anything I wanted within 15 minutes. Not only did you spend too much money, Janice, you ate too much garbage. Now, do I gain weight here? Yes, because in the wintertime, I get stuck on having hot chocolate. And then I get stuck sometimes on having the pain au chocolat. I mean, I just love it. And I get kind of like this sweet tooth. But I have to really watch it. But once I start on my fresh fruit and vegetables, I'm okay. And that brings me back to my second topic, panic attacks. Whew, there's nothing that can bring on a panic attack for me more than gaining weight. And I know that it goes back to when I was a kid and the way I was raised, but I'm not going to dive into that. But I think it has a lot to do with how I value myself. Now, I just did a video on how do you value yourself? What is your worth? Is your worth less because you gained 2 pounds? Absolutely not. So sometimes I have to really let my counselor come into me and think, but I do have a panic attack when it comes to my weight. I have an issue with my weight. I've had that issue for a long time. And I can tell you, if maybe I lose 6 or 7 pounds, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you can eat what you want now. Ooh, you've lost that weight. All of a sudden, I'm doing that up and down thing, that roller coaster. Instead of eating what I want to eat in small portions, I starve myself. And then I go into this roller coaster up and down losing weight. So I'm working really hard on not doing that. In fact, I had a lady comment on Facebook the other day that my pants were a little bit too tight. Well, she was probably right. But I asked her, please don't put that out there so everyone can see it, or write me in Messenger, or don't write me at all. It isn't that I don't see it. It's just that it just sent me in a tailspin. And I think when you know that someone does have an issue or an eating disorder, which I certainly do, then maybe you won't be so critical. Most people aren't critical, but it doesn't take much. One time Jennifer had a friend of hers and she just wouldn't eat. I mean, she lost down to like 96, 97 pounds. And they finally put her into a rehab center. And the first thing I did is when she got out, you know what I asked her? Well, how much do you weigh now? Whoa, talk about triggering. So you need to be very careful when you talk about people and their weight, because you really don't know how that's going to affect them. And having a disorder and then having panic attacks, wow, both of them together. Now, I don't know if you know what a panic attack is. I hope you don't. I hope you've never had one. I had a lady friend of mine the other day said, well, if you have a panic attack, that means you've got something mentally unstable about you. No, that doesn't. I've had panic attacks since I was 21 years old. I used to have to take medicine every day for it. Now, fortunately, all I do sometimes, if I feel a little anxious or something, I can stave it off. Now, let me tell you, when I first moved here to Fontainebleau, I'll tell you what brought on a panic attack for me. You're going to think this is ridiculous. When I went to the big grocery store, I always felt so anxious because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm either going to not say something correctly, I'm going to mess up with the card, or maybe the card won't work right, because sometimes you don't have Wi-Fi in some places like the grocery store. You don't have Wi-Fi. So if I don't have enough money in my account, I can't transfer it from my savings account into my checking account. So if I've not done that before I walk in, then I've got to walk back outside. People have to wait on me, and they know I'm not from here. So I was always feeling so anxious. I'd get on that bus and I'd think, okay, now make sure you get your stuff, make sure you bring your bags, and I put so much pressure on myself just going to the grocery store. And I told a friend of mine one time, I said, I get more anxious going to the grocery store than I do getting on a train and walking around in Paris. And I know that sounds maybe very weird to some of you, but it was the idea of not wanting to look like a failure in other people's eyes. I didn't want to look like a stupid American or a stupid anyone. So I've been kind of battling panic attacks lately, a little bit due to the weight gain and a little bit due to just putting too much pressure on myself. Sometimes I'm the biggest procrastinator that ever was. And when I do that, I put pressure on myself. And when I put pressure on myself, that brings on the anxiety attacks. Or if somebody texts me and says, Janice, I was going to meet you. Where were you? Oh, goodness, I'll be right there. Like the other day, my friend Beverly took her dog into the groomer and they said, oh, Max didn't come in today. Oh gosh, that meant Max had to wait another 6 weeks. And that's not fair to him. They're brought on the panic attack. I feel bad about myself. Why did I let that happen? I've got a whole book and I write it down. It's just because I procrastinate and then I get busy with doing something I want to do. But I have to really watch it. I have to really make sure that I'm on top of it. If you've ever had a panic attack or you know what that anxiety feels like, please write to me. Please let me know. And if you would prefer to email me at janiceinfrance@gmail.com and not comment below, I can certainly understand that. And if you come to France, you're going to know that you're going to gain weight during that week or two while you're here. But then you can go back to the States and get rid of it because we do have some wonderful food here. I have never had any bad food. People will say, Janice, what's the most favorite restaurant? I don't have a favorite restaurant. They're all good. They're all good. Now, my favorite food is croque monsieur and croque madame. And they are these wonderful cheesy sandwiches and toasted and they're just wonderful. And then, of course, the desserts. Now, when I first moved here, I didn't even touch a dessert. They just didn't appeal to me. But after a while, they started to appeal to me. So I have to watch my weight. And I do think, because I am an American and because I've always had things pretty close to me, the snap of the finger, and especially after the COVID, now we have Uber Eats that we can have it brought to our house within 20 minutes. That really does sometimes, I think, oh man, I could have a pizza, I could have a Subway, instead of going in there and cooking my chicken and my green beans or my chicken and my broccoli or my chicken and my spinach or something like that. So I really have to work on my weight. I really have to work on my panic attacks and not creating them. Now, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes they just come on and there's no rhyme or reason. But sometimes you can keep them lowered as much as possible. So tonight I've talked about, in my coffee chat, how to stay slim in France, even if you're an American. And also how to work your life around the panic attacks. And I know it just sounded crazy about my panic attack going to the grocery store, but it's the truth. I can't lie about it. You know, some people think that they watch people on YouTube and they just have the most wonderful, perfect life in the world. And I'm not saying I'm not blessed and I don't have a wonderful life, but I'm just like you. I have the same issues you do. I get on that scale and I'm worried about gaining weight. You may get on that scale and worry because you haven't gained any weight. And if this has triggered you, I am so very sorry. In fact, I probably should have had Mary Grace, or I will have Mary Grace put on the front of it. If you have an eating disorder, this may trigger you. I will have her do that because I don't want it to trigger you. But thank you so much for sitting here during my coffee chat. I wish we could have talked more. Sometimes I think I would just like to have a Zoom with all of you so we could all talk at the same time. But if you ever want to do that, there is a group of us that get together on Sunday evenings, and we call it the Wisdom and Wellness class. And we talk about being healthy. We talk about the wisdom that we know and the knowledge that we know, and we share it with other people. It's not a doom and gloom type of Zoom call. It's not doom and gloom. It's talking and sharing about things that we lived through and how to do it better, how to live better, how to be healthier. So if you ever want to do that, email me at janiceinfrance@gmail.com and ask to attend the Zoom meetings. And I always post the time and the date right on the beginning. So when you go to Janice in France on the YouTube and you click on to Janice and you see the video and the membership, then you'll see a post. Go to that post and it will have a post on it about the next Zoom class. And I'm going to be having them on Sunday nights instead of Saturday nights. So I hope sometimes you can join me and maybe we'll talk about panic attacks one night if you want to. I like to talk about what other people want to talk about and what they need to talk about. It isn't about me. I'm the facilitator. It's not all about me. I don't want to talk about France. I don't want to talk about what it's like to move to France. I don't want to talk about what is it like to live in France. It's a wisdom and wellness class. So you just have to watch my videos about all the other stuff. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I do appreciate everything that you do for me. And remember, all of us, we're trying to get by the end of May, 33,000 subscribers. So if you can help us out, I'd appreciate it. After all of this, I still love you. Au revoir.